Hey cake chums, and welcome back to another video. Over the last few days, my Facebook timeline has been all aflutter following the announcement of a brand new product from Brigid's Cake Room. If you've already seen my teaser post over on social media, then you will know that we are talking about the one and only Ganaching kit. Naturally, with Planet Cake all abuzz about this brand new product, it seems only right that we put it to the test. So, in this brand new episode of What's New in Cake, we are going to be looking at the one and only Ganaching kit. Let's get to the video. Now, I don't know about you, but it seems to me that Ireland has become a bit of a hotbed of innovation as far as cake tools are concerned recently. A couple of months ago, we saw the launch of the drippy icing cutter, and if you haven't seen this yet, this is basically a huge cutter that looks like this, that allows you to cut out that kind of splat effect from sugar paste that we all painstakingly spend ages doing with a scalpel usually. Perfect for Christmas pudding cakes like this one here, or melting ice cream cakes like this one here, or even for use on wintry scenes like this cake, or even kind of more mainstream designs like my recent Minecraft cake. Having spent more than my fair share of time trying to cut these kind of really random style shapes with a scalpel or a craft knife before, I am so excited to be able to use the drippy icing cutter instead. And I know that it's now available here on the mainland via the Cake Decorating Company. So if you fancy checking out the drippy icing cutter, I will pop a link to it down in the video description. But that's not what we're here to discuss today. We are here to talk about the one and only Ganaching kit, which looks like this. Now, this is kind of blown up on social media over the last week or so, but don't worry if you haven't seen it yet, because we're going to be taking a really good look at it in today's video. Essentially, it is a revolutionary time-saving way to achieve a ganached cake with super sharp edges with no mess and no fuss. Now, speaking as someone who is very messy when I'm working with chocolate, and pretty fussy as well, I'm definitely looking forward to putting this to the test and seeing if it lives up to its lofty claims. Before we get started, there is a kind of promotional video that shows you how to use the kit, which I'm going to insert in just a second, and then we're going to have a go at doing it ourselves and see if somebody using it for the very first time can achieve as perfect results as they do in the promotional video. But let's start by taking a look at that. you've seen that are very much just the highlights of the video because, you know, I didn't want you to have to watch it twice because obviously I'm going to do just as good a job in my attempt today. But before we get started, I'm just going to read you the spiel from the back of the box. We know ganaching a sponge cake is usually a long and tedious process which takes much practice to get perfect. Even then it can still be fairly long and tedious. If you've seen any of my videos where I'm ganaching a cake, you will know that I spend ages ensuring that it is pristinely perfect. With this kit, we have developed a quick, easy, no-mess solution to ganaching a sponge cake and gives you that professional finish every time. We hope you love it as much as we do. So in the box here, it comes with a height-guided liner, a foam spacer, a ganache bottle, liner grip clip, and a non-stick reusable disc. So, I should open the box and take a look. Okay, so there is a bit of paper on the top here that says don't forget to measure and cut your foam spacer to fit your tin, and check out our step-by-step tutorial on YouTube, which you've just seen. And we have this, which is wrapped up in tissue. Inside we have that reusable non-stick disc. We have got our liner liner grip clip. Then we have the height guided liner itself, the aforementioned ganache bottle, and there's the lid, the foam spacer, and I think that is everything. Now the set I've got here is the 7-inch set, which is designed to be used with a 6-inch cake. So obviously the first thing I had to do was bake up a few 6-inch sponges, which I have done. The next thing we're going to need to do is grab a 7-inch cake tin, and we're going to be using a PME seamless cake tin, which you've seen me use here on my channel many times before. And I guess the first thing we need to do is kind of assemble all this together. So let's do that next. Okay, so I've zoomed you out just a little bit, so hopefully between the two different camera angles you can see exactly what I'm doing. And based on that instructional video we just watched, or that tutorial, the first thing we need to do is grab our cake tin and place that non-stick circle in the bottom. Perfect fit. The next thing it said to do was to take the foam spacer, place that inside the tin, and then mark where it overlaps so that you can trim it to be a perfect fit. And done. Next we need to take the liner and remove the protective coating, and then it says in the video when using it for the first time to roll in these ends. I have to say it's really quite thick and sturdy, and then this goes into the tin inside the foam. Then we need to take this clip, grip, strip thing, clip it. It says clip it on it, we'll say clip it. And this goes over. Okay, and so if I've done everything correctly, then that should be ready to use. So we've got the non-stick liner at the bottom, we've got the foam insert around the edge, and then we've got the liner itself inside, clipped with the clip it. The next thing we're going to need to do is to grab our cake and of course make some ganache. So let's do that next. Okay, so to make our ganache today, we are going to be using the method where you chop up your chocolate and then you pour hot, nearly boiling cream over it, leave it to sit for about a minute, and then stir it together, and it should give you a lovely, smooth, delicious ganache. Now I wasn't sure exactly how much ganache we were going to need, so I am probably going a little bit overboard, but in here I have got 1.2 kilos of dark chocolate, and to that we are going to add 600 milliliters of whipping cream. So the key ratio there is 2 parts chocolate to 1 part cream. And by the way, I did not sit and chop 1.2 kilos of chocolate myself. I put it in my Kenwood food processor and let that chop it for me. So top tip for you there, if you have a lot of chocolate to chop, put it in the food processor. So then that just sits for 1 minute, and then we can stir it together, and hopefully very quickly we will have a beautiful ganache. Now if you've not made ganache before, this is one of the ways that you can do it, but I do have another method over on my website as well. So head down to the video description and I'll pop a link to my ganache recipe. Can you call it a recipe? But my ganache method that I would normally use is there. Okay, so it's been a minute, so the next thing to do is start to stir this together, and you should find that the heat of that cream has started to melt the chocolate, and it is just a case of stirring it all together. We made ganache recently, didn't we? In the bake-off, testing the bake-off box video. There you go, I'm not mad. I knew we'd done it recently. You basically want to keep stirring until all the cream has been combined and there are no lumps of chocolate left at all. I quite often get asked what type of chocolate I use when I'm making things like chocolate ganache or even tempering chocolate, and to be honest, I just use supermarket own brand. It's Sainsbury's specifically. I've always just used Sainsbury's own brand chocolate and I really like the taste. It's always behaved for me, so that's what I use. See what I mean? Messy. Even when using a no mess method, I managed to make mess. Okay, and so after a couple of minutes of stirring, we now have a beautifully smooth and glossy ganache for our cake. Now honestly, I would normally let my ganache sit overnight with a layer of cling film over the top and allow it to come to more of a peanut butter consistency. But one of the key time-saving aspects of the one and only Ganaching kit is that you can now use your ganache straight away. So I guess that's what we're going to do, and I'm a little bit scared. But anyway, we have everything we need. We have our ganache, we have our Ganaching kit, we have some cake. Confession, there was supposed to be 6 layers of cake, but I dropped one. So we have 5 1-inch layers of cake, and they are 6 inches in diameter, and it's just a very basic chocolate sponge. We have some vanilla buttercream to fill between our layers, and we have our ganache bottle, which is what we're going to use to pour the ganache into the Ganaching kit as per the video. Now, just as a reminder, I have not done this before. This is my very first time using the kit, and I wanted you guys to see that. I didn't want to kind of have a few goes and then show you. I want you to see what it's like fresh out of the box. So we're going to start by filling up our ganache bottle. Gosh, how much mess am I going to make? I'm going to put what are these called again? Literally can't remember. So we're going to put one of those in, and I'm going to pour some of my ganache into the bottle. Lid on, and then the next thing it says to do is to pour some of your ganache into the bottom of the tin. So we're going to do that. This is obviously going to end up being the top. I say obviously, sorry. This is going to end up being the top of the cake. So this is what's going to give us those beautifully sharp edges that we are looking for. And to be honest, can you ever have too much ganache? Really? Okay, so we have got our layer of ganache in there, and then in the video, probably the most worrying part of this whole process is they use 2 forks to pick up a layer of cake and plop it down inside. So we're going to give that a go. You need to make sure it's nice and central, and then I'm going to squirt some ganache down the side of the cake. Now I noticed in the video quite often you saw them kind of tapping it just to make sure that ganache went all the way down. You didn't have any air bubbles. Don't know actually if that lazy Susan will be useful. And then you saw them put the filling in and add the next layer of cake. Gosh, it's quite tricky to get to the bottom. I've got quite big hands and this is quite a small cake. I'm so glad you can't see what's happening inside this tin right now, because it's not my neatest ever piping job. We're going to ignore that first layer, and then we're going to go in with the next layer of cake and pop it down on top of that first one. Again, just kind of make sure it's central, do a nice push down, and then once again we're going to go around the edge just to fill in that space between the cake and the liner. Okay, and then I'm going to go in with another layer of buttercream. I should have gone for the wide angle lens, I don't know why I didn't. Apologies, guys. And now we're getting up towards the top of that foam bit there, so you'll be able to see, hopefully, what it is I'm doing. It's the bottle, it's not me. Okay, so hopefully now you should actually be able to see what is happening when I'm squeezing this ganache in. So it's running down the side to meet the layer below, and also hopefully going in between those layers at the edge there to make that dam that we would normally use when we're piping in our fillings. So I give it a bit of a tap again, and you can see when you look inside that the ganache has slipped down slightly and you can fit a bit more, and that's because hopefully it's going down to fill in any kind of holes or cavities that are down there. And we're just going to go in with our last layer. Now I've been pretty generous with my fillings, I have to say, and I usually am, so we're definitely putting the kit through its paces today. And then again, squeezing that ganache down into the gap around the edge of the cake. Okay, and then it says, I'm gonna just crouch down, and then it says when you have filled right up, so you're level with the bottom of the cake there, to go in with a smoother and just scrape around to make sure that that ganache is flush with the bottom of the cake. I might have got a bit overboard with this bottom layer, but again, can you ever have too much ganache? In my opinion, no. Others may disagree. And essentially, there you go guys, that is how to assemble your cake using the kit. Now, have I made any mess? Yes. Have I made anywhere near as much mess as I would normally when I'm ganaching a cake? Absolutely not. Now, if you want to see my usual process for making and assembling a cake like this, you can check out my how to torte, fill and cover a cake video, I think it is, but I'll link it up in the top corner for you anyway. But essentially I would start with each layer, pipe a dam of ganache, put my filling inside, next layer of cake, dam, filling, next layer, and so on. We then go in with a crumb coat of ganache just to keep all of those loose crumbs contained, and then I'd come in and do anywhere between 1 and 3 more layers until I achieve that flawless finish and those sharp edges that we're all so keen to achieve with every cake. So while there were some kind of fiddly elements with this, such as lifting the cakes with the forks, which I'll be honest did make my heart race a little bit, but I will be interested to see if we're able to achieve as good a finish using this as I would normally, because this took just over 10 minutes, and obviously bear in mind it is my first go. I can imagine that it's something you would get quicker at as well. But anyway, the next step is to pop this in the fridge, ideally overnight, to allow that ganache to set. So I'm going to go and do that, and I guess I will see you in a fair few hours' time. And through the magic of editing, as always, it is now the next day or the next morning, and this has been chilling in the fridge probably for somewhere around about 12 hours now. So I guess it's time to find out whether I was able to achieve that flawless finish that we are looking for. We're going to start by removing the clip. Ooh. And then we're going to flip the whole thing upside down. Carefully slide off the tin and then flip it back the other way again. I don't know if you need to use boards, I'm just using boards because that's how I flip my cakes usually. And we take off, whoa, take off the foam, and then we take off the liner. Can I just say, first of all, can you see the shine on this cake? Wowzers. I'm gonna flip it back up the other way again. And then our last job is to very carefully peel off that non-stick parchment-y layer. I think I need to put this on a Lazy Susan so you guys can see it from every angle. First of all, that sharp edge is so good. I've got one tiny bit here where I think I could possibly caught it. I mean, that I would be happy with that pretty much. There is also a seam here where the liner overlaps, and it shows you in the video that to remove that you need to use a sharp scraper. My kind of tool of choice for blending away those blemishes is one of my flexi smoothers. I'm just going to very gently run up cake. We'll just blend that away. And then the other thing you'll notice is I do have a couple of air bubbles, which again, it says in the video is quite common. And what you do to get rid of those is you just grab a little bit of your leftover ganache and just fill them and blend them away like you would with a normal ganache cake using the normal traditional method. So I'm going to do that next. I've just literally spent about maybe 3-4 minutes kind of just going around that bottom there, just filling in those air bubbles and just kind of smoothing everything down. And as you can see, we have got pretty much a flawless finish to this cake. I have to say, I'm really impressed. I honestly thought that because this was my first go, that it wouldn't be as good as the one that we saw demonstrated in that promotional video or that tutorial video earlier on. But actually, this is probably as neat, if not neater, than I would be able to get it normally. And as I say, I do a lot of ganache cakes. Even my sugar paste covered cakes are ganache underneath. And can I just say though, this shininess where the chocolate obviously was just perfect, I'm almost now, because the rest of it is so good, I'm almost gutted that I wasn't able to get that shine over the whole thing. And of course, where I have just gone around the edge there to fill in the holes, we've lost that shine because of the fresh ganache. And that's almost a shame because it looks, I mean, I can literally see myself in the cake. That's crazy. Now, because we've had a really good look at the outside, I think it's only right that we also take a look at what it looks like inside as well. So I think we'll do a cutting shot and then I'll give you my final thoughts. Don't forget, this has been in the fridge all night, so it's going to be a lot stiffer than if it had been allowed to come back to room temperature again, so that's important to remember. Okay, and so hopefully you can see there that we have got our individual layers of cake with our filling nicely contained within them. And we've got our even layer of that dark chocolate ganache all around the outside. Again, it is cracking slightly because it is so solid. If you left this out at room temperature for a couple of hours, you would find that this would soften up nicely, giving you the perfect base for the rest of your decoration. Okay, so guys, that was the brand new ganaching kit from Brigid's Cake Room. So we've gone from 5 1-inch deep, 6-inch in diameter layers of chocolate sponge. We filled those with a regular vanilla buttercream frosting, and then the entire thing has been wrapped in that dark chocolate ganache. And I'm sure you will agree that we have achieved an absolutely flawless cake. Now, as I said earlier on in the video, I make a lot of ganache covered cakes, and so my standards are pretty high, and I am genuinely so impressed with the finish I was able to get from this tool on my first attempt. Now, I did have 1 or 2 worries before I tried using it for the first time, and one of those was that crumbs from the cake would come through and would be sat on the surface, because of course that's one of the reasons why we use a crumb coat to contain all those crumbs inside. But looking at this really closely, I don't think we have a single crumb showing at all. I also was a little bit worried about those air bubbles, but other than those couple that we saw near the bottom, which we filled really easily, there doesn't seem to be kind of any pockets inside where we don't have any filling or any ganache or any cake, so that's looking really good. And honestly, there was a little part of me that thought that this would be a bit of a gimmick, you know, so yes, you can achieve perfect results, but only if you take the time to really master using it. We've all seen in the past when tools have been released that do enable you to achieve perfect results, but not on a first go. You very much have to learn how to use them. And if a tool is supposed to save me time and effort and energy, I don't expect to be having to learn how to do something new. It should be quicker and easier than what I already do. And I do have to say, I really think that this tool or this kit does that. It takes the process that I would normally spend hours doing and makes it a lot quicker. That being said, if I was planning on using this just as a very basic ganache covered cake, maybe with some decorations on top, I'm not sure how I feel about the fact that part of it is shiny and part of it isn't. So I don't know if I'd maybe want to rough up the shiny bit so it looks more consistent, or of course figure out a way to make the entire thing shiny. I'll get back to you on that one. And the fact does remain that if you wanted to have one of these for different size cakes, then of course you would need to buy more of them because it is perfectly sized to the size of cake you are working with. However, if you are someone who struggles with ganache, so ganache perhaps is something you've been putting off trying, or you tried it once and you didn't get on with it, then this definitely could be the solution to your problem. This definitely could be the way forward so that you can offer ganache covered cakes without all the stress and worry of trying to achieve those perfect edges and those smooth sides. But all in all, I am really impressed with Brigid's one and only Ganaching kit, and I'm so thrilled that the world of cake is getting all excited about it, because it definitely deserves that excitement. It delivers exactly what it promises on the box, and I had a lot of fun trying it out. If you would be interested in having a go with Brigid's Ganaching kit, I know that it will be available here on the mainland via Sugar and Crumbs, and I think it retails for about £20 a kit. They kind of start around about, I think, £17, £18, and then as you increase in size, they go up by like £1 a size. I'll pop the link anyway to the Sugar and Crumbs website down in the comments so that you can have a look for yourself. And of course, if you've had a go with Brigid's Ganaching kit or are planning to have a go, then do let me know what you think of it and how you got on using it. Similarly, if there are any other kind of new products on the market that you would like me to have a go at in another episode of What's New in Cake, then do head down to the comments and let me know, and I'll see what I can do. But there you go, guys. That was Ganaching a cake using the brand new one and only Ganaching kit from Brigid's Cake Room. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, and why not share it with someone you think would like to find a shortcut to achieving a perfectly finished ganache cake. If it's your first time joining me here in the Mr. Baker's Cakes kitchen, don't forget to hit that big red subscribe button before you go, and of course you can always ring the bell if you'd like to receive a notification every time I upload a new video, which incidentally I do every Sunday, usually around about 10 o'clock, but this one might be a little bit later simply because it's already Sunday morning and we're still filming. But anyway, on that note, I think I'm going to wrap things up here. So again, thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you at the same time next week for another video. Until then, take care guys, and happy caking. Bye.